Hi, I'm Danielle Hartman. Welcome to Poured in PA, a series sharing the stories of Pennsylvania's craft beer industry. In this episode, we look at the connection between beer, nature, and art. Prior to the pandemic, Tröegs Independent Brewing teamed up with the Nature Conservancy to raise awareness about one of Pennsylvania's treasures, the Kittatinny Ridge.
I'm Erin Mooney, and I'm the Director of Marketing and Communications at the Nature Conservancy. We have about 30,000 Nature Conservancy members in Pennsylvania, and we work on rivers and streams and making nature available for us and future generations. In 2018, we approached Tröegs about joining us in our October Forest campaign, which is a global campaign that looks at the intersection of healthy forests and clean water equal great beer.
Over the years, we've partnered with what we think are like-minded companies or people, and we thought a lot of their beliefs in protecting the environment are something that means a lot to people at Tröegs too.
Tröegs was quick to jump at that opportunity, and we did some tabling events together, and we found a really nice, easy working relationship where we talked about, hey, maybe we can create a beer that helps protect a really critical place nearby that's important to Pennsylvanians. And so the Nature Conservancy is working on a place called the Kittatinny Ridge. And the Kittatinny Ridge is a 185-mile pathway that goes from the Mason-Dixon line all the way up to the Delaware Water Gap and then through to New York and up to cooler climates. And that's a key migratory path for birds and mammals. Not many people know about it, but it's critical that it remain intact and protected.
It's considered a superhighway of birds and animals, and also works as a natural filter bed for drinking water, which is about 50% of America's drinking water runs through forests. So we thought as a brewery, as a big water user, that makes a lot of sense for us to make sure we have clean water to make beer with.
Tröegs was really quick to jump at that opportunity because it's such an important piece of land, key to Pennsylvania, and for recreation, you can hike the Kittatinny Ridge. The Appalachian Trail intersects it at some points. You can bike it, you can fish it, you can hunt it, and it's a place where a lot of our headwater streams and water come from. So Tröegs loved that idea of doing some outreach to protect the Kittatinny Ridge, and we brainstormed about how best to do that, and they came up with Trail Day.
We did create a beer specifically dedicated to raising money for the Ridge, and it's called Trail Day, which is a dry hopped pale ale. It's kind of a new school pale ale, which is a style that we wanted to brew, and we are using some local Pennsylvania ingredients as well. So we thought it fits in very, very well with the Nature Conservancy.
Trail Day is a limited edition IPA that helps people understand about the Kittatinny Ridge and the opportunities that exist to protect it.
We're going to kick off Trail Day at the Mural Fest, and we're also having a mural dedicated to showing the landscape of the Kittatinny Ridge. We collaborated with the Sprocket Mural Works and found Emily Digg to create the mural for us.
So this mural is a collaborative effort between Sprocket, myself, the Nature Conservancy, and Tröegs. All of the flora and fauna in this mural is of the local area, specifically the Kittatinny Ridge. And what we wanted to do is bring all of these plants and animals into the city and kind of remind people that the environment plays a large role here and that it's not to be forgotten even in the city.
The mural that is complete is so gorgeous and so touching because it really takes a little piece of what's happening in nature, birds, migratory kestrels, some warblers, and some of the native plants that are there, and brings it into a tangible thing that people can walk by and interface with every day.
For us, art has always been very important to Tröegs. Not only just art, but we really like people or companies that make things from scratch. And I think, as brewers, when we're making beer, that's kind of our art form. I think the mural that we're doing down in Harrisburg is kind of a natural extension of our art form. And it's always fun to watch artists' interpretation of something else, which could be our beer or could be the Kittatinny Ridge.
The actual painting part of it, I love the physical aspect, how it's a full body motion. It's not just confined to a simple square that you're painting with a brush. It is Probably the most tiring thing I'll ever do is to spend however many hours physically, bodily creating something massive and larger than yourself that you don't see in the moment. So this is a really high traffic street, and there's also been construction, so I would say for this one, maybe every minute or so, someone's waving from their car, screaming, "Oh, good job!" And I'm like, "Thanks." But yeah, everyone's been really supportive of this one, so it's super cool.
Just seeing how people interact with it, it's incredibly moving to see kids getting their pictures taken next to these ginormous kestrels, and there were couples getting selfies, and it was just amazing to see people interact at Mural Fest.
But we're hoping the mural will just be a reminder for people in Harrisburg that right in their backyard is a beautiful, wonderful place that we should protect and preserve and also have fun and play in.
We had an event in Harrisburg at Mural Fest where Tröegs and TNC had tents next to each other. And that tap was just busy all day long. There were people in line to hear about Trail Day, and then they could come over to the Nature Conservancy, hear about what we're doing on the Kittatinny Ridge. And it was such a nice partnership, and it just felt so great to be able to share that message and share Trail Day with all those people there.
Part of it is just creating overall awareness for the ridge, but then also a portion of the proceeds will go into a Tröegs Trail Day fund that the Nature Conservancy hopefully will use to buy protected lands along the ridge.
Beer is such a great way to tell this story. If I were to sit down with you in a bar and talk about the Kittatinny Ridge and tell you about all the migratory birds and animals and climate change and the need for microclimates and why this is one of the most important places on Earth like this, it's a long story. You might tune out. In a beer, it's right there. It's packaged. You get the idea. There's a beautiful graphic on the front telling the story of the place and some of the birds and what's at stake. And it's easily digestible, can I say, to take this story and really understand it quickly and easily to an audience who may not necessarily be thinking all the time about conservation.
This is a one-time only, so it's a quick release for us. We hope to do it again next year, but it is what we would call limited, once a year. Once it's canned, it hits the market, and when it sells out, it sells out.
This partnership with Tröegs really sets the stage for both of us, for Tröegs and the Nature Conservancy, to kind of think outside the box a little bit and to help elevate both of our products and messages in new ways for each other. And so we'll continue this relationship, and we're hoping that it's an annual kind of celebration of the places right in our backyard that we need to protect.
You've heard of fairy godmothers and the tooth fairy, but do you know the beer fairy? Our producer Sarah Bozich chats with the team from Tannery Run Brew Works to learn more about this magical creature.
Well, thank you for taking the time to do this. I really appreciate it, and I promise not to take too much of your time. So we'll just start with, tell us about what your plans were supposed to be for your 1-year anniversary and how you guys have adapted and what you're doing now.
So we had planned a whole celebratory weekend of events, starting with our first can release, but that was all postponed indefinitely because of the COVID-19 situation. So,
it was kind of the worst timing because we had everything all lined up, but we were able to transition rather quickly. I'm quite proud of our POS system, Toast, who has given us access to free online delivery and online ordering, which has been very helpful for our business model.
And it was that anniversary weekend that we were able to make that pivot. It was just like a 2 or 3 day period.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't even 48 hours, honestly.
We put into place, and boom, delivery, beer, food.
So tell me a little bit what that experience is like for the customer now then. They visit this website, place their order. What all can they order from you too?
So we've got our complete line of draft beers, all in crowlers. But also, you need to eat food when you drink beer. It's a smart move anyway. So we have almost our complete kitchen menu available: soups and salads, cauliflower bites, wings, flatbreads, burgers. You can go right on our website and you can order all those things in either individual or combo form. food and beer together as a price break, and then I'll deliver to you in 30 minutes or so. The first case of beer I ever delivered, I left on the porch and I sent the text message, and a very big supporter of us texted back, "Oh, you must be like a beer fairy." I'm like, well, that's kind of an interesting idea, beer right to your door whenever you ask for it. So I kind of tried to run with it a little bit. We had a friend of ours develop like a quick little, cheeky commercial for us, and it was really fun.
I know! Why don't I just wish from the beer fair to bring me food and beer? Just hold my hands real tight and wish for the beer fairy to bring me beer and food. While you're doing that, I'll just order food and beer from TanneryRun.com.
At www.tanneryrun.com or call 215-613-1113.
Some days I go dressed up, some days I don't. I have friends that request me to come in garb. So that's been really fun for us, and I'm hoping to kind of expand on it. I have because things have been busy enough. We've brought back another one of our employees as another delivery driver. So I'm trying to develop a persona for him. He likes the surly leprechaun. I'm not sure how that's going to play out. Green Ninja or something. Who knows? But we're working on more fun things like that, just to keep it fresh.
That's great. This was great. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate you taking the time. Wish you much luck and hope to visit you once this is all over.
It's fantastic.
Yeah, and we appreciate you guys supporting us too. So we're all in this together, and it's great to see all the support.
Currently, the Beer Fairy is on a break as Tannery Run has reopened for in-person sales. Next up, another COVID-19 story of innovation. Our producer Sarah Bozich talks with Susquehanna Brewing Company about channeling their roots for a new era Brew Thru.
Okay, so we are talking about the innovative Brew Thru that you guys implemented. So tell me how you came up with this idea.
Well, it's kind of one of the funny things we call it innovative. It's an old school, it was kind of what we did 50, 60 years ago. When you bought a case of beer, drive-thrus were the way you went. It's only been in the last 30, 40 years when people started making these nice retail stores. So it was just kind of plucking an idea out of the past. We had a large kind of garage drive-through area. We wanted to do a release, and we said, hey, let's just try something.
Yeah, so what was the response like from your customers?
It's been fantastic, relatively speaking. I mean, it's a very safe, convenient way to get something you love. So we have put an online store together in about 48 hours. That worked out really well. So it's completely contactless. You could come in, pop your trunk, put your ID and your receipt against the window. You don't have to talk to anybody. Like, here you go, I'm here for my beer. In 2 weeks, online sales became about 45% of our takeout business.
Yeah, so I noticed the website looks fantastic. It seems easy to use. Are you seeing a lot of the same customers taking advantage? Are you seeing new people who maybe don't otherwise have, as easy access to beer and are trying you now because of this?
Well, I would say the bulk of our customers are like our existing customers, but we have seen some new faces just because, hey, this is great. I didn't know it was here. It's a very safe, convenient option. Like I said, you don't even have to get out of your car door. You could pop your trunk, say thank you very much. You could see everything you bought. There's no guessing. It's kind of one of the downsides of it is craft beer is very social. And this is kind of very cold, transaction-driven. Like I said, drive-thrus were great 40 years ago when you were getting your case of, Schlitz or, whatever. But now people like coming in and kicking tires and seeing what's available.
So what do you guys have available through this? Are you still brewing beer?
Oh, yeah. So far, beer sales have stayed flat. It's just the channels that people are taking them home. So we have not really – we had a couple of slow weeks when the panic set in. But while we were not doing anything, all the retailers were being bought out. So the supply chain never really stopped. So we actually just brought everybody back to work in the last week. There's a lot of spring cleaning things. So we were able to get the federal loans to pay everybody, bring them back. So it doesn't matter if you're making beer or cleaning the floors or outside doing some landscaping. We're running at 100% people right now. So we're finding stuff for them to do.
Well, that's fantastic. That's great news to hear. I know not everybody is in that same kind of position, so it's really great you guys were able to do that. So do you think with the success of this drive-through that it's something that you would maintain after things go back to normal?
I don't, that's one of the things. Personally, I'd like to see it go away. I love the old way of it, but there's that thing. We have no idea how long this could take. I anticipate doing this at least for the rest of the year. I mean, this is going to take a long time, and by the time that's over, what are people's behaviors going to be? I could see some sort of, pre-order pickup stand, like a little pull up to the door and somebody will run your car up to it. I don't think it'll go back to normal no matter how much we want it to.
I hear you on that. It is a really weird time to try to figure out what the future is going to be, especially when it doesn't look like there's a near future to grab a hold of at all. The point was to talk about the Brew Thru, and is that the official, what is the official title of the...
I actually I think I have to give you credit for coining the term Brew Thru. We were just saying drive-through store. It's kind of funny how it's really, like I said, the first event, it was going to be a 3-hour event on a Friday. Oh, let's do something. And then, that went really well. Let's open it up Saturday. And then we're like, okay, we'll do 3 to 7, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Well, now it's noon to 7 days a week. I mean, and it's just the ability to, it's so new that you just keep trying and experimenting, and, nothing's off the table right now to keep business going.
Well, I think it's great and really innovative, even if it is an old use. It's creative, it's innovative in using that older tech or whatever we want to call it to do that. So thank you again for taking the time to do this with me. I really appreciate it.
Being a professional brewer not only takes a love of beer, but also serious dedication. Hannah Gohde of Naked Brewing knows all about this.
How did I get into brewing? It's a very long, convoluted story. The short answer is right place, right time. I had been a home brewer for years. I had homebrewed throughout college. I started working at Keystone Homebrewer Supply in Montgomeryville. Keystone is a great feeder for professional brewers and fermented beverage makers. So I worked there for about 1.5 years, and John Stemler from Free Will had also previously worked at Keystone. He said, "Do you want to come work for me?" And I said, "Okay, yes, please." And I went pro. So I was at Free Will for about 6 years. When I actually first started, I split my time between brewing and production work and being an event coordinator. I also did social media. Working for any small business, you tend to wear a lot of different hats. So I wore a lot of hats in a lot of different departments. As the company grew, it sort of became time for me to focus on one avenue or another. Production was really where my heart is, so being on the floor every day was sort of my ultimate goal. And then this opportunity to come to Naked Brewing was presented to me, and thought, yeah, all right, let's do this. This is a predominantly women-led company, so that's really cool because you tend to not see that as much in this industry. I am supported, I am heard, I'm trusted, I'm valued, and it's been a really, really great experience so far. A lot of people think that the beer industry is you drink all day and it must be the greatest thing in the world, and don't get me wrong, it is really fun. And I'm really thankful to be able to do this as a career, but it's also really dangerous. You're dealing with vessels that are under pressure. You're dealing with caustics and acids. You're dealing with hot water or hot liquids in general. So there's a lot of different potential hazards in the brew space. And unfortunately, I fell victim to one of those hazards and had my arm crushed from here to here back in February of 2016. I broke a number of bones in my wrist. Most of the damage was nerve and soft tissue damage. It knocked me out of the game. It knocked me out of the brew game altogether. I had surgery. went through the recovery process. Things went really well, but unfortunately the surgery that I had there is a high failure rate on it. And I'm one of those cases that failed. My nerve bundle slid back out of place. And by the summer, I was experiencing some pretty gnarly sensations, pretty much 24/7. I needed to be able to lift 55 pounds minimum and be able to do that repetitively throughout a day and be able to have the endurance to do any sort of brewing activities for, 8 to 12 hours a day. And I was lucky if during PT I could make it like an hour. So it was a very long recovery process. It wasn't all just physical. It was a very mentally damaging injury as well, because when you're experiencing nerve pain and chronic pain, I have a whole new level of appreciation for people that experience chronic pain. But when you're experiencing that for weeks, months, years on end, it kind of messes with you mentally. So there was a lot of recovery that needed to happen on the backside of this. But in that time frame, I really looked at it as this opportunity that I may never have again. And I took the opportunity to really dive into learning how to be a better communicator, learning how to be a better leader, learning how to be a better listener. And then on top of that, also diving headfirst into some more brewing education type of things, podcasts, articles, books, all sorts of different things. And it also allowed me the time to be able to go visit some people within the industry. It wasn't necessarily the most ideal situation. I feel pretty proud that I made the most of it that I could, because life is all about learning, right? And trying to be better than what you were yesterday. So I was full of a lot of self-doubt leading up to me starting here. When I was approached about coming on board here, obviously I was really excited. That was a very humbling feeling because, can I do this? I don't know. But turns out your body and your mind remember a lot more than anybody I think really thinks, because I walked in here and felt pretty at home. I essentially taught myself the brew system and knocked it out of the park, not to brag, but so that was a really victorious feeling for me. It's been really good. I'm getting that confidence back, baby.
Thanks for joining us. You don't have to travel across the pond to get that English pub feel. Grab a cask ale and check out this brewery spotlight on the Leaning Cask in Springdale, PA. Until next time, cheers.
It really kind of rooted in me starting homebrewing, but that was just for my love for craft beer. My older brother, who now lives there, he started going over to what's that?
He lives in London.
Yeah, he lives in London now. He first started going over there where he met his wife and everything, and they brought us over for a wedding. It was our first experience with London pubs and that whole culture, and we really just fell in love with it. So I think when we got back, we really saw that there was a void for that here. There's a little bit of pub culture, but not really true traditional that we were finding very easily. So we kind of rolled that into me brewing, and it kind of took it from there, and it just grew and grew and grew into something we really wanted to have here. So we took everything we loved from the pubs and wanted to provide the space, but also it influenced a lot of my brewing, where I spent time with some English brewers and kind of came up with a hybrid technique that we do that's a little bit rooted in English tradition, but we use a lot of American influence on it. So,
husband-wife team with us. Was that tough? Is that good?
I mean, on the whole, yeah, it's been pretty good. We've been together.
We complement each other,
and we've been together for a really long time.
Yeah.
So it's
what he's good at, I'm not so good at. My strengths, so we balance each other out, and I think it helps us to provide a whole package in all different areas.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
I did design the space, so that was kind of my big thing when we first started, and it kind of connects back to our English sort of influence. We really wanted to bring a little bit of like a pub culture vibe in the space. The window seats are kind of a great little thing that kind of brings that feeling with the fireplaces. There's a little bit of influence on the walls and things you'll see, but a lot of things we even brought back from London. We have a mug club, which is awesome. We have a lot of members and a great wait list, so it takes a little while to get in it, but our mugs were made at the English Pewter Company and imported from England.
So they're the real deal.
They're the real deal. So we try to bring a lot of that like cozy, like pub feel when you're inside. And we're dog friendly. Another one I should add. We are dog friendly. There is, I know, a dog here. It's pretty rare we have a day that we don't have a dog. Not overwhelming. I'd say like a couple dogs, but dogs are welcome. Of course, the leashed, well behaved, but people like being able to come in with their pet.
We pretty much make any style you've ever heard of. I mean, we're all over the board with that. We're not just English style beers. The name kind of implies that to some end, but it's more just about the influence of how we brew the beers. Some of the techniques I use in the actual brew house, like in the process, are a little bit more English rooted than most of the US brewers, the way they do things. So slight variations, but from style perspective, there's really nothing crazy other than the fact that we definitely do traditional cask ale here, and we do it every week. There's always one on. We tap them on Wednesdays and they go till they're gone for the week, and then we tap them again the next week. So we brought those hand pumps that are on our bar back from England. We actually carried them back because domestically they're crazy expensive. You can get them, but like they're like I think they're like a fifth of the cost over there because they're everywhere. I mean, they're just commonplace. It's harder to find draft over there than it is to find cask. So that we definitely do in the true English style all the time. It's 100% traditional. It's taken a while, but I think it's becoming a little bit more common and people are starting to recognize it for what it is. It always has got this stigma around it that it's just like warm, flat, beer that's just like boring. And it's just so much more than that. And although we try to stay really traditional with it, we've done all kinds of crazy stuff on it. Like we've done IPAs, we've done all sorts of stuff that like a little bit out of the style, but for the most part we try to stay traditional because those that love it, that's what they're after. So.
But we do get that question a lot.
Oh,
People will come in, tell me about the cask, what's this cask? It got to the point where we actually made little cards that said, what is cask ale? Yeah. And it's sitting right in front of the hand pumps and people can take it with them. And so we try to educate a little bit about it too and encourage people to try it if they haven't. Step outside their comfort zone. Yeah.
We are pretty lucky. The one reason why we kind of came to this community, we get it all the time, like why Springdale? And it wasn't anything in particular. Like we always say, it wasn't like, that was the spot we wanted forever. We were just looking for a community that had that kind of feel of like the walkability factor, because that's something really big in the English pubs. Like everybody walks to their local pubs, and there is a community aspect, but we also wanted space, we wanted room that could grow into and everything else. So when we finally landed here, I was not worried about the real craft supporting community of Pittsburgh. Like they tend to travel. If they want to see something new, they go. So I wasn't worried about drawing in necessarily people from outside. I was a little bit worried about the community and what it was going to be like, because there's nothing like this here. So it was a little bit of a risk there, but we've been really, really
they're very
fortunate.
Supportive.
Yeah, they've all been great. The borough's been great. It's been a happy home so far. So.
When COVID-19 started, which was right around St. Patrick's Day, we started to feel it actually that weekend. That Sunday after was the last day we were open. Yep. And then right away, we were told we had to shut down. Tuesday, we turned around, we were ready to go with to-go sales and online ordering. So that took off right away, which was really nice. We had a lot of our regulars, a lot of people just in Pittsburgh area that were supporting local breweries. So between our online ordering and distribution, we were able to do okay.
It was kind of fortunate that we had already built some relationships, especially on the distribution channels, and then we already had canning in place. It was a great response. I mean, we were actually shocked the first week, and I mean, it actually got better as time went on. But the first week, the response was overwhelming. We figured let's just do it because at least we're trying to do some kind of thing to bring in income, or whatever during that time. But everybody kind of just got on board with it. I don't know. It was way better than it could have been. Let's put it that way.
That's really attributed to the supporters in the area.
Definitely.
A lot of people I would see when they'd come for curbside, they were picking up our cans, but they had cans from other breweries too, and they were doing a round.
Doing the rounds, yeah.
So that really has something to say about the craft beer supporters in Pittsburgh that stuck true and supported us through this time.